Thought is infinite. Each word represents an ideal conception of the infinite, because behind each word and thought is a manifestation of spirit. Many waves of thought are dancing in the waves of consciousness, but behind that, there is the great unceasing ocean of truth. Our thought expressions are waves of this ocean of understanding. What is the meaning of resurrection? To live again, to rise to renewed life. What rises again, and how? We must understand in what way resurrection means to live again. Everything is undergoing a process of change. These changes are either detrimental or beneficial to the object that changes. For example, if I take a dirty glass and strike it on the floor, it will be changed, will it not? But this change will not be beneficial. It will be harmful to the object. However, if I wash the glass and make it shine, that change is beneficial. Resurrection means any beneficial change to an object or to a human being. You can resurrect your old furniture in the carpenter's or upholsterer's shop. You can resurrect your house through the help of architects, but we are talking of resurrecting the human body. In this context, resurrection means any uplifting change. You cannot remain at a standstill. You must either go forward or backward. That is a great and inspiring truth, that in life you cannot remain stationary. Either you must accept changes that are harmful to you or those that are beneficial to you. Every human being is an expression of the vast, immeasurable spirit. Isn't it marvelous when we see how human beings, without any motors, without any wires, without any visible source of power, runs smoothly? The human machine wakes up in the morning, eats breakfast, goes to work, goes to lunch, goes back to the office, has dinner, then it goes to sleep, to wake up and do the same things all over again, day in and day out. As mortal beings, we are controlled by something that operates like radio, the intelligent, active, and vital energy let loose by God in the creative laws of nature. Ships can be moved by radio. Similarly, we are controlled by the broadcasts of natural laws of the infinite omnipresent spirit. But the point is, we are not automatons. Our soul is a reflection of spirit. Just as the sunlight falling on a body of moving water becomes broken up into myriad scintillations, so spirit, shining on vibratory creation, has become reflected therein as individualized spirit, or the soul, in each human body and mind. Now, although this soul is a reflection of spirit, it has become identified with the body and has put on all the limitations of the body and of the mind. Yet it is trying very hard through processes of evolution to resurrect itself from the distortions caused by thraldom to the body and mind. But it's easier said than done, isn't it? Resurrecting the reflected soul image signifies taking it away from the distorting restlessness of body consciousness and reuniting it with the original, all-pervading, undistorted light of spirit. There is a story that when a certain charismatic preacher met God in heaven, he said to him, "Don't you remember me? I introduced you to crowds in big halls and sent them up to heaven by the carloads." Then God said, "You sent them all right, but none arrived." Sometimes we pray theoretically and we think we are resurrected from our blemishes, but it is only imagination. The facts of our words and actions prove something different. Resurrect yourself. Resurrection must take place not only theoretically, it must occur practically. Even theoretical prayer is better than nothing at all, but sometimes it is a detriment to practical understanding. Let us study first about mental resurrection. In the beginning of life, the soul plays with the body instrument. Gradually, it becomes the slave of the body. Hence, we must learn to live a life above the physical plane. Mental development is a product of physical development, or evolution. We find, according to natural evolution, that the soul resurrects itself to the plane of intellect, or the plane of prosperity, manifesting the unique endowments of human beings. and then rises to the plane of spiritual realization, which gives meaning to all prosperous development and intellectual attainment. Intellectual attainments are undoubtedly helpful. All good things help. Gradually, we understand the way to resurrect the body into the spirit, by spiritualizing the body and mind to become fit instruments for the expression of spirit. Resurrection means to free the soul from the cage of ignorance, to uplift and release the soul from the bondage of mortal consciousness. Human life is sometimes very beautiful, but one who is attached to it is like a bird of paradise in a cage. You open the bird's cage, but because of attachment and habit, it may not want to fly away. Isn't it a pity that the bird does not want to go out into the boundless freedom whence it came? Yet it is afraid. We also, feeling ourselves slipping out of body consciousness in deep meditation, may think, "Will I slide into the infinite and never come back?" We are afraid to try the skies of limitless consciousness. We have lived too long identified with the body, and now we shrink from entering our infinite omnipresence, frightened to resurrect the omnipotence and omniscience of our soul. To resurrect our innate wisdom from the bondage of the body is spiritual resurrection. I will talk of body resurrection now, of promoting those uplifting changes in the body that are beneficial to you. What I have to say first is about living dead people walking on the streets. Many people think that they are free because they can think and speak, move their hands and feet, and walk freely on the city streets. But they are not free. They are in bondage, chained by nature and their subconscious habits, like men walking in their sleep. There are many forms of physical bondage. If you have not been able to resurrect yourself from the bondage of sickness, for example, then you are still imprisoned behind the bars of matter. To resurrect yourself from disease by right living is extremely necessary. After many years of deep study, I found, in a nutshell, how to express health by contacting cosmic energy. We must also understand about food values. Meat is detrimental to your system, but so is an improperly cooked vegetable dinner of killed vitamins. Resurrect your mind from the bad habits of wrong eating. Vitamins are absolutely necessary to the system for the harmonious development of physical strength. Vitamins are the brains of the food. Vitamins are rearranged in the system to give vitality to the body. They are sparks that set the gunpowder of chemicals in motion. Unsulfured figs and raisins are nature's candies. The ordinary figs and raisins are mummies. They are so treated that they do not decay, but they have no life. You can write these figs and raisins into your will and leave them to future generations as heirlooms. Sun-dried figs live only 3 months. In the mummy kind, the sulfur fumes pass through them, kill all the vitamins. Isn't it too bad to preserve things by killing the good part? It is good to boil eggs hard because they may contain germs from sick hens. If you remember the basic rules, an abundance of fresh fruits and vegetables, not denatured by improper cooking or storage, and nuts, whole grains, and some dairy products, you will not be making any transgression on nature. Only after years of experiment, I have found the effectiveness of all this. I shall broadcast this information. Nature will not listen to excuses of your years of transgression against her health rules. If you eat sensibly, then if you are in the habit of breaking some laws occasionally, it will not so much hurt you. I have never felt better in my life. Though sometimes I was sickly in my youth, I have very strong muscles now. Of course, Yogoda self-realization fellowship techniques, and not only food, helps that. I recently met a man called Uncle Billy Reese, 79 years old. He has grown a full shock of hair on a perfectly bald head. He said that he had been for years carrying a bay window in front and was given up to die at 25 years of age. He resurrected himself. He began by thinking, If there is a God, he has no business in making me sick. Then he began to think it must be his own fault. You see, he was resurrecting himself from the disease that he had been constantly attracting to himself through his own fault. He found that 16 elements are necessary to the body. So he altered his diet accordingly and got back his health completely. He kicks way up high in the air, and he successfully pitted his strength against mine. We are great friends. Much valuable health information I owe to him. Since you have to eat, why not eat rightly? You can have a whole meal often, yet be on a starvation diet. Whole meals of white bread and sugar and pies might satisfy one's hunger, but would kill in a few months. So resurrect yourself from the bad habit of eating wrongly. A rattlesnake gives you warning before it strikes, but rich gravy and white flour won't tell you. They look and taste so very nice. Everything white, refined flour, sugar, and grains is not always good. Sometimes brown things, whole, unpolished grains, and natural sugar and fruits and honey are very nice. We used to have unprocessed cereals until the mills came and we began to refine things. And now, by a roundabout way, the best is taken out of the grains. Colonic poisoning comes with white bread. You cannot afford to have constipation. The stomach exercise of yoga is marvelously efficient in promoting proper digestion and elimination. Another thing, every week you should fast 1 day on orange juice to rest the internal organs. You won't die, you will live. Once a month, fast 2 or 3 days consecutively, living only on orange juice. There is so much bondage to matter, of fear to miss a meal. It is so evident we are not living by the Spirit of God, as Jesus Christ spoke about living by the Word of God. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Resurrect yourself from this bad mental habit of overeating and palate slavery. When you fast on orange juice, it scrubs every cell. At least once every month, you should give a thorough house cleaning to your body by fasting. Do not let poison accumulate in your system. When you suddenly become sick, you hasten to pray to God for healing. Don't let yourself get sick. The greatest way to maintain health, and the simplest, is to fast on orange juice 1 day every week and for 2 or 3 days consecutively once a month. Resurrect your soul from the hypnosis of bad habits in eating. You must do lots of resurrecting in order to get to God. To make the body spiritually fit, not only right eating, but moderation in all things, and sunlight and exercise are just as important. Then comes the question of resurrecting yourself from the consciousness of disease. That is more important than trying to use even meditation or physical means to seek a remedy when you are sick. According to experiments by German scientists, many people are better off because they do not constantly analyze their physical condition or suffer from mental discouragement because of their maladies. There is a close relation between the mind and the body, so destroying the consciousness of disease is vitally important. Many times diseases have left us, but our consciousness of disease brings them back again. While meditating late one night, a certain saint saw the ghost of the dread smallpox disease entering the village where he lived. "Stop, Mr. Ghost," he cried. "Go away. You must not molest a town in which I worship God." "I will take only 3 people," the ghost replied, "in accordance with my cosmic karmic duty." At this, the saint unhappily nodded assent. The following day, 3 persons died of smallpox. But the next day, several more died, and each day thereafter, more villagers were overcome by the fearful disease. Thinking that a great deception had been played on him, the saint meditated deeply and summoned the ghost. When it came, the saint rebuked it. "Mr. Ghost, you deceived me and did not speak the truth when you said you would take only 3 people with your smallpox." But the ghost replied, "By the Great Spirit, I did speak the truth to you. The saint persisted. You promised to take only 3 persons, and scores have succumbed to the disease. I took only 3, said the ghost. The rest killed themselves with fear. You must resurrect your mind from the consciousness of disease, from the thought of disease. You are the invulnerable spirit, but the body now rules the mind. The mind must rule the body. Then the body will not accept suggestions of environment and suggestions of heredity. Wrong ways of living on the physical plane have been handed down to posterity from our original ancestors who succumbed to mortal delusion. Often diseases appear only because you have stimulated the consciousness of disease inherited from your forefathers, and thereby reinforced your susceptibility. You should always remember that if spirit were to withdraw the intelligent, radioed energy that activates creation, you would drop dead, just like a bird that has been shot. Despite all your prestige and all your money, you could not live. You must give the whole credit to God, remembering that you are living directly by His power. Resurrect yourself from the consciousness of physical disease. God did not create disease. Resurrect yourself from the disease consciousness that has been handed down by your forefathers. Do not mind difficulties. Be unafraid. These are the truths that have been preached in India from ages ago. Truth that shall make you free. Then comes resurrection from our mental habits. The silkworm weaves threads around itself into a cocoon. Then, before it develops wings and slips out of the cocoon, the manufacturer gets hold of it, and the silkworm meets its death in its self-created prison. We all are similarly entrapped. Before the wings of spirituality grow, we foolishly weave threads of fear, worry, and ignorance around ourselves until disease and death come and destroy us. We find ourselves in bondage created by ourselves. What is most destructive? Our own misguided thoughts, our own wrong ways of living, thinking indiscriminately and then acting on it. We must resurrect ourselves from spiritually deadening anger thoughts, from the thoughts that engender selfishness, from the clamor of inharmonious living. Many people think they are awake, but they are not. Mostly they are walking dead. You have heard of people walking in their sleep, crying fire, or lecturing. Most people are like that. I don't mean Yogoda students, or those who are living the life of truth. Jesus said, "Let the dead bury their dead." One was to be buried beneath the earthly sod by one who was already buried beneath the soil of ignorance. You should help to resurrect those who have buried themselves under their wrong living. In order to do that, you must be able to smile from your own resurrected soul. And when the soul then smiles through the heart, and the heart smiles through the eyes, then the Prince of Smiles is enthroned beneath the canopy of your celestial brow. Let no rebel hypocrisy ever destroy it. Smile though the storms of suffering shriek around you. God knows that it is because you are beclouded by self-created ignorance that you are tossing on a sea of trials, unable to see the omnipresent Spirit pervading everything. He knows that you are adrift in the little bark of your life and must battle the storms around you. But he also knows that you are moving toward him. When trials come, pray to the Father. I have launched my boat on a dark sea, but I have heard thy call. I know that thou knowest I am coming. You must battle. Even when the hands seem to break, you must battle. You must not give up. Then, when the clouds will vanish and the life of happiness and prosperity will be back again, you will forget your trials. Trials do not come to destroy you, but to help you appreciate God better. God does not send those trials. They are of your own making, the effects of conscious or unconscious actions in the past, somewhere, sometime. You must blame yourself for these, but do not, as a result, allow yourself to develop an inferiority complex. All you have to do to overcome your trials is to resurrect your consciousness from the environment of spiritual ignorance. Ever affirm, Heavenly Father, I know that thou art coming to my aid, and that I will see thy silver lining haloing the dark clouds. In this tumultuous sea of trial, thou art the pole star of my shipwrecked thoughts. What are you afraid of? You are an immortal being. You are neither a man nor a woman, as you may think, but a soul, joyous, eternal. Do not identify your immortality with human habits. They are your deadliest enemies. Even as Jesus could manifest his love and say, when sorely tested, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So should you become able to forgive others, even in the midst of exacting trials, and say, my soul is resurrected. My power to overcome is greater than all my trials, because I am a child of God. Those who receive God are those who develop their mental powers by serious application of spiritual laws. When your mental powers expand, your cup of realization will become big enough to hold the ocean of knowledge. Then you have resurrected yourself. Resurrection was celebrated last Easter, honoring Jesus, whose life was such a great example. People to whom you do good may turn around and slap you. Expectation of recompense for doing good is meanness, is littleness. Give and forget. If your neighbor slaps you, just say he does not know any better, but don't say it loudly. Resurrect yourself from the littleness of life, the little things that disturb you. Do you ever think that you have been completely unsettled by circumstances? Banish such thoughts. You have power. You do not use it. You have all the power you need. There is nothing greater than the power of the mind. Resurrect your mind from the little habits that keep you worldly all the time. Smile that perpetual smile, that smile of God. Smile that strong smile of balanced recklessness. That $1 million smile that no one can take from you. Several years ago, when I was on the train going to Los Angeles, I met a man whose manner and general appearance immediately attracted my attention. He was a well-dressed, prosperous-looking businessman, with every indication that he was blessed with all the good things of life and had every reason to be happy. But regardless of all these favorable outer impressions, I felt very sorry for him because he emanated deep gloom. I said to myself, what is the matter with this man? He seems to have buried himself beneath this artificial habit of gloom. I must resurrect him. Looking straight at him, I said, "Are you happy?" He tried to discourage me with a fierce look, but I returned his gaze squarely. I reasoned that by his glare he had already annihilated me in his mind, so he could not kill me again. Finally he spoke. "Is that your business?" "Yes," I replied. "I resurrect the walking dead." Shortly he said, "Yes, I am happy." "No," I insisted. "I can tell what is in the mind." "Why shouldn't I be happy?" he retorted. "I put $50,000 to $60,000 a month in the bank." Poor soul, I thought, realizing that he believed that his happiness lay in depositing those large sums in the bank. But I said, "Tomorrow you may not be here to carry a cent. Have you opened your bank account with God?" Later he invited me to lunch, but he was still inwardly antagonistic to me. Then we talked again, and he became more reasonable. "Do not rely on riches," I advised. "You may die and not even have a chance to make a will. These material riches are not yours. Open your bank account with God." He had become interested, so he suggested, "Meet me in Boston." I countered with the proposal, "Meet me in Los Angeles," but he did not have time. Later, when in Boston, I was in the hotel where he had told me he stopped. When I inquired about him, the hotel manager said, "Don't you know what happened to him? He was coming from a hockey match and was struck down by a truck. He never regained consciousness." I felt very bad. He had awakened a little, but not enough. If you have attunement with the infinite, you will know that whether or not nature shatters your body, you are still on the lap of immortality, still on the lap of that infinite assurance. Resurrect yourself from the consciousness of human habits and the human thoughts thereof. Live every second in the consciousness of your relationship with the infinite. That alone is everlasting. It is the one thing that will live forever. This I say not to frighten you, but to quicken your understanding, to quicken your efforts, so that you do not keep your soul buried under a false satisfaction. Open your bank account with God. It will never be lost. You can use it through all your travels, now and in eternity, whether in an airplane or an astral plane. You should say to yourself, "From star to star I will fly," whether on this side of eternity or the other side of eternity, or whether surging through the waves of life, from atom to atom, flying with the lights, whirling with the stars, or dancing with human lives. I am an immortal. I have resurrected myself from the consciousness of death. Resurrect yourself from anger, from melancholy, from failures. You must succeed to know that you are God's child. Success is not limited to spiritual matters. Success must come in everything. Resurrect yourself from the consciousness of disease, from mental habits and weakness. Have a strong smile that will never be shattered by the trials of your circumstances. Then comes spiritual resurrection. Spiritual resurrection means metaphysical relaxation, to withdraw the consciousness from the tenacious habit of identification with your body. In meditation, you release yourself from identification with your mental body by stilling the restless sensory mind. You must similarly relax the life force from the internal physical organs, and thus do away with body consciousness. In that relaxation of your hold on body consciousness, you become free. Your soul nature is revealed, and you know that you can live without the body, though living in the body. It is separate. Resurrection is not a change that takes place only after death. You must resurrect yourself while living in this body. You do it every night in sleep, which is unconscious resurrection. You must learn to do it in meditation, which is conscious resurrection. There were saints in India who, having entered a death-like state, were buried and later disinterred and brought back to life in consciousness after several days under the ground. They have proved that resurrection of the body is possible. St. Paul, St. John, and other of Christ's disciples knew also the spiritual science of conscious relaxation of the life from the body in meditation and restoration of it at will. To do without food and still live is another kind of conscious resurrection. The resurrection of Jesus Christ is different. It is higher still. This higher resurrection means you understand creation, how to free the soul from the bondage of ignorance, the great delusive power of Maya. We have no physical existence except in the universal sense. The body you see is nothing but materialized energy. How could energy be sick? Sickness is a delusion, but simply saying that it is delusion is not enough. If in a dream you strike your dream head on a dream wall, you will have a dream skull fracture. Wake up and you are healed of your dream injury. Yogoda teaches that only by contacting God can one see that God has become the universe and that the human body and all things else are naught but a mass of condensed energy, and energy is frozen, cosmic consciousness, or God. We should not call it mind. Mind is different. To say that everything is mind is incorrect. It is cosmic consciousness that causes us to be aware of different things, to have a consciousness of so-called matter and a consciousness of spirit. I have written plainly in my scientific healing affirmations why it is we do not see spirit in matter. Jesus Christ had the power to see it. Resurrection means not only to resurrect body and soul to another sphere of existence, as did Jesus, but to change the atoms of the body as well as to spiritualize them and release them along with the mind. Everything, skin, hair, eyes, is nothing but frozen energy and frozen consciousness of God. When Peter cut off the ear of the centurion, Jesus restored it. How? The atoms obeyed him, because he knew that the atoms were controlled by the consciousness of God. They do not obey you because you are not attuned to that controlling power of cosmic consciousness, which is holding this flower together as a flower. You have the illusion of matter as a solid reality. By meditation, you will be able to separate the soul from the illusion of the solid body. You will know that the cosmic golden cord that binds the atoms is the tender consciousness of spirit. It is with this cord that he binds the atoms to become the flower or the human body. He takes myriad electrons, like a child modeling in clay, and throws them into eternity to become stars or universes. Imagine how very little we are to him. I think nothing more than bacteria. Though we are so very small, yet as souls made in his image we are very big. A little story about bigness. We think our accomplishments are marvelous, but they are not so big to God at all. One day I saw a tiny ant crawling up a snowy mound of sand. I said, "To the ant, this must be like scaling the Himalaya mountains." The pile no doubt seemed gigantic to the ant, but not to me. Similarly, 1,000,000 of our solar years may be but a moment in the mind of God. We should train ourselves to think in grand terms, eternity, infinity. Last of all, resurrect your mind from formal faith, beliefs which may have given you a little satisfaction, but which you have outgrown. Religions which you lived with under the conviction that you know, while you don't know. The greatest crucifixion of the soul is the crucifixion by the arrogant self-sufficiency of the ego, thinking how wonderfully big and wise we are. Your soul must be released from bondage to the littleness and limitations of the body and the suffering that the body is subject to. When you think of the devastation of disease, you think it an injustice of God, but know you are immortal, not to be crushed by mortal lessons, but to learn and manifest your immortality and smile. Say, "I am immortal, sent to a mortal school to learn and regain my immortality. Though challenged by all the purifying fires of the earth, I am the soul and cannot be destroyed. Fire cannot burn me, water cannot wet me, breezes cannot wither me, atoms cannot shatter me. I am the immortal dreaming the lessons of immortality, not to be crushed, but to be entertained." In the dreamland, sickness and health are the same, prosperity and failure are the same, only dream imaginings. But surely, a dream of prosperity is better than a dream of failure. So if you have to have dreams, why not have good dreams in this life? If you have too many bad dreams, you will be very busy crying and not have time to know that it is all a dream. Far better are the dreams of health and prosperity and wisdom. Resurrect your soul from all dreams of frailties. Resurrect your soul in eternal wisdom. What is the method? It includes many things: self-control, proper diet, fortitude, an undaunted mental attitude, and relaxation of the consciousness from body identification by faithful daily practice of scientific concentration and meditation principles. Refuse to be defeated. Do not acknowledge defeat. To acknowledge defeat is greater defeat. You have unlimited power. You must cultivate that power. That is all. Meditation is the greatest way of resurrecting your soul from the bondage of the body and from the shackles of all your trials. Meditate at the feet of the infinite. Learn to saturate yourself with the consciousness of God. Your trials may be heavy, may be great, but the greatest enemy of yourself is yourself. You are immortal. Your trials are mortal. They are changeable. You are unchangeable. You can unleash infinite powers and shatter your finite trials. 2 frogs, one a big one and the other a small one, fell into a pail of milk. The sides of the pail were shiny and smooth, too slippery and steep for the frogs to climb out. They were battling to stay alive, but every time they lifted their mouths to catch a little oxygen, down they went. They paddled around and around. After a while, the big frog gave up and drowned. But the little frog said, "Life is too sweet. I don't want to die. I will keep paddling no matter if my little feet fall off." So it was battling for hours, when suddenly it found something solid under its feet. The milk was churned to butter. Out jumped the little frog. That is just how life is. After battling adversities insufficiently like the big frog, if you give up, you deserve to succumb to your troubles. But if you keep on battling with determination, your difficulties will be overcome. Some answer from the infinite will emerge, and you will hop out of your troubles. Be like the little frog. By all means, keep battling. Determination. Resurrect yourself from weakness, disease, ignorance, consciousness of disease, and above all, from the frailties of mortal habits that beset your life. Om. Peace. Amen.